You didn't know about the fifth. But anyway, well, this is a big problem, and now many of these people have glommed onto this anti-terrorism, counterterrorism thing after 9/11. But they're there. They've infiltrated. As you say, they're in many different parts of the government, both as political appointees, as we saw under the Reagan and Bush administration, but others are senior civil service. But you have to wonder about just what is the FBI up to when they're running these people and then they commit these acts.
Well, Wayne, that's my question. I'm sure you remember 60 Minutes in '92, where the militia guys went in and they were hanging black people in effigy. BATF, FBI, close to 1,000, I think, at the meeting. Was it Alabama or South Carolina? In fact, pull up Good Old Boy Roundup for me. They were selling, N-word hunting licenses and all this. And I researched it more, and it's not just that the FBI and BATF and CIA are running the white supremacist groups and getting them to stage attacks and then take our rights, but they really are Nazis. So, what is going on? And then meanwhile, the ADL is like over them somehow. Very bizarre mixture of people.
Well, I have to point out, I live in Arlington, Virginia, and this is where George Lincoln Rockwell had his American Nazi Party headquarters. And here's a guy who was a commander in the Navy during World War II. Can you imagine? We lose over 600,000 people fighting the Axis in that war. This guy Rockwell is running a ladies' magazine in Manhattan, but decides all of a sudden to come to the Washington area and start the American Nazi Party. I heard from an old friend of mine, now deceased, who investigated Rockwell for Reader's Digest magazine and found out that a lot of his money was actually coming from the ADL. George Lincoln Rockwell, when he ran that magazine in New York, his biggest advertisers for U.S. Lady were Bergdorf Goodman, Macy's, Saks, Gimbel's, all these Jewish-owned department stores. Why in the world would he just then turn around, come to Washington, and start the American Nazi Party? Well, it's obvious that that he was part of this idea. We've got to keep our thing going. So we start this guy up, and we can point to him and say, look, there's still a threat. I think this has been going on for decades in this country, and the FBI is perfectly content to work with some of these people. And I think, I think it's part of this Hegelian dialectic where you have two sides playing off against one another. And in that,
well, yeah, they got to have an enemy to take the general public's liberties and freedoms and spy on us. And so every time I research Nazis, I find out they're joined to the hip with the ADL and Southern Poverty Law Center and the FBI. They're just a bunch of whacked out freaks. I mean, what do you think about this hate crimes bill? I was reading the subsection and found out it's passed the House, that it has the same subsection as the other act, the cyberbullying, where it says if you criticize someone and it hurts their feelings, the feds will charge you with a felony. I mean, Wayne, it seems on every front, federal government takeover, private Federal Reserve takeover, a water bill takeover of all water in the country. I know it's just everything's happening right now.
Well, this law may not survive the Supreme Court, because I would note today the Supreme Court ruled against
Sotomayor.
Missouri. And also against Missouri, which wanted to bring a charge against this Westboro Baptist Church, this guy, where they picket the funerals of guys coming back from Iraq, guys that got killed over there. But the Supreme Court upheld the right of that Westboro, as nutty as they are. They said they had every right to picket these funerals.
Yeah, for those that don't know, the First Amendment is to protect nuts like that, who are really, I think, very distasteful. But it's there for distasteful speech, not for speech you like. Go ahead.
Right. So I would say, based on the Supreme Court's ruling today, that hate crime legislation may not pass muster, because somebody obviously is going to bring suit against that if they're ever charged under that. And the Supreme Court, we've already got now the Supreme Court ruling in that particular area. So I don't think it'll pass muster.
Well, Wayne, I've got to say, the Supreme Court, a lower federal court had said they could strip search little girls because she gave a friend a Advil, and they strip searched her. And the lower court said they could do that. The higher court, as you know, last Friday said they couldn't. So we're actually seeing...
Except for Clarence Porno Thomas. He said it was perfectly okay.
Yeah, but I have to say, we've been seeing some half-decent rulings out of the Supreme Court. What's going on up there?
Well, we've got David Souter, who turned out to be the worst nightmare for the neocons and their whole agenda. He's being replaced. My take on Sotomayor, even though she the court ruled against her ruling on that New Haven firefighters deal where they said that they were subject to reverse discrimination exam. I have a feeling that Sotomayor is going to be very much like Judge Souter. The word is that she's very big on privacy issues, although there's not a whole lot of case law there, but people who know her, read her decisions, feel that she's really going to be another Souter. So we may see the court not move at all, especially in the area of, cracking down on free speech.
Hey, Wayne, I was just on WayneMadsenReport.com, and I'm sorry I'm ignorant. I miss so many things. None of us are omnipresent here. You have a legal defense fund? What happened with that?
Well, I was arrested in Alexandria back in March while interviewing a source. The source was arrested by the local gendarmes, and I asked what the charges were. They said they weren't going to tell me. Gave me a bunch of grief, and the next thing I knew, I was under arrest, charged with this Elizabethan England law that's still in the books here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's drunk in public, but it also means disorderly conduct. A failure to obey a police officer.
Yeah, that's one of their favorites.
Yeah. They decided not to prosecute that, but it's a whole other thing now. I've got to get the record expunged, and that's actually done by a higher court where there's really no right of appeal. So I just found out Friday that the Commonwealth is not going to contest the expungement, but it continues, and the whole idea.
Yeah, but I mean, what's going on in Virginia and D.C.? I was there for Bilderberg last year, and everywhere I went, I would try to videotape from parks, the Washington Monument from 100 yards away, and cops would run up and threaten to arrest me, and they told me I couldn't videotape the White House, but they weren't just doing it to me. Old ladies, families, Boy Scout groups. I mean, and they'd say, we don't care. No, it's not tourism, it's terrorism.